Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to take you through a comprehensive review of what's happening across the world in terms of major war-related developments, exploring different flash points, escalating tensions, underlying drivers, humanitarian impacts, and what this means for us and for global stability. The picture we are looking at is complex. Several conflicts are overlapping, tensions are rising, and the idea that war is contained is increasingly doubtful. For example, the conflict between Ukraine and Russia continues to dominate headlines with continued missile attacks, loss of life, and shifting international alliances. At the same time, the recent flare-up between Iran and Israel has forced many analysts to ask whether we are entering a wider regional war, or even something more global. This isn't just about one battlefield or one regional dispute. Rather, the entire international order is being stress-tested. Let's begin by looking at the Ukraine-Russia front. Since 2022, the war has shifted beyond the initial invasion, with new tactics, new theaters of action, and fresh players getting involved. The use of ballistic missiles, drone strikes, and infrastructure attacks has increased. Civilians continue to suffer as power grids, cities, and critical infrastructure become targets. The effect is ripple, like energy shortages, displacement, economic instability. Moreover, this war has attracted attention from other actors who sense opportunity or risk. Arms flows, alliances, sanctions, supply chain disruptions. What this means for the world is that even a localized war becomes globalized in effect. Trade, energy, diplomacy all get entangled. Then there is the Iran-Israel theater. In June 2025, things escalated sharply when Israel struck Iranian nuclear and military infrastructure, and Iran retaliated with missiles and drones. The U.S. became directly involved, further internationalizing the conflict. The possibility that such a conflict could spill over into neighboring states or draw in bigger powers is real. For instance, if Iran were to close the Strait of Hormuz's oil shipping route in retaliation, that would impact global energy prices and logistics. What we are seeing is not just a bilateral fight, but a chain reaction waiting to happen. A recurring theme is that we may not yet have a fully fledged Third World War, but many analysts believe we are crossing thresholds that were once thought unlikely. Flags are going up in terms of warning. For example, Vladimir Putin has warned about the risk of global warfare, and countries are ramping up hypersonic missiles and broader military readiness. What scares many is not just the direct conflict zones, but the unpredictable alliances and unintended escalation pathways. One spark in one region could trigger reactions far beyond. Let's talk too about the humanitarian and civilian costs. Conflicts today are not confined to battlefields. Civilian infrastructure becomes a tar. It's energy, hospitals, water, transport. Displacement of populations, refugee flows, disruption of global supply chains, all of this is happening. According to the Geneva Academy, there are more than 110 ongoing armed conflicts worldwide, many outside the headlines. Geneva Academy, for those living through this, daily life becomes a struggle, lack of power, lack of safe shelter, trauma. In some places, even famine. The gap between the fighting and the rest of the world shrinks. We also need to recognize that the strategic backdrop matters: nuclear proliferation, shifting power balances, for instance, between the U.S., China, Russia, regional powers, and weak international mechanisms under stress. The recent strikes on Iranian nuclear sites by the U.S. under the codename Operation Midnight Hammer illustrate this dynamic. The U.S. bombed Iranian nuclear facilities, sparking global outcry and escalating risk of retaliation. The notion that nuclear or near-nuclear weapons could be used in desperation or by miscalculation is now back on the table. What does this mean for you and for audiences around the world. It means staying informed matters more than ever. It means understanding that wars are not isolated. They ripple through economies, refugee flows, global shipping, energy markets. It means recognizing the human cost, the moral dilemmas, and the long-term consequences. It also means that there is no room for complacency. What is happening now has been building for years, and we may only be seeing the beginning of a much broader shift. So what should we watch for in the coming weeks and months? A few key indicators. First, whether regional conflicts stay contained or expand via alliances or proxies. For example, if Iran's conflict with Israel pulls in other states or non-state actors that could widen the war zone. Second, the involvement of major powers either directly or via proxies. A direct move by a major power could change the game. Third, escalation of weapons beyond conventional, hypersonic missiles, cyber attacks, drone swarms, asymmetric warfare. Fourth, humanitarian tipping points, mass displacement, breakdown of health systems, large-scale refugee flows. Fifth, economic spillover, whether energy or food markets are impacted, or whether global supply chains face major disruption. In conclusion, we live in a time of heightened geopolitical tension. The conflicts we are examining, the Ukraine-Russia war, the Iran-Israel war, the risk of global escalation, are not just faraway problems. They affect global stability, they affect markets, they affect human lives. And as individuals, being aware, being informed, being thoughtful about these issues matters. We don't just watch war from afar. We feel its after effects in many indirect ways. I hope this review gave you a clearer sense of the scale, the risks, the stakes. Thank you for watching and being part of the channel. As always, if you found this useful, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss future updates. Stay safe, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next one.